I'm Nate Trosky. I'd like to welcome you to the presentation. Thank you for tuning in, and I'd like to begin by thanking you, coaches and parents, for doing what you do. Thank you for being difference makers. And the definition for difference makers is keeping the team greater than yourself and making others around you better. And thank you for your contribution in the baseball community and for making others better. I've been coaching and scouting, been involved in player development for over 30 years, and that's where my passion is. Committed to BED, better every day. That's been my mission since I've been coaching. Started at the age of 22 in the minor leagues, and now focusing on player development. That's been the last probably 10 years, but player development really has been through my whole journey because the development of the player makes the game better. So CPD, BTM is complete player development, body, tools, makeup. And from the complete concept of complete player development, the full circle, the idea is developing the complete player, and the components oftentimes left out is makeup and character, which is the sixth tool. And what we're going to be talking about here today is triggers, trigger phrases, mantras, and how they apply and how they affect the outcome, the results of a game and as the individual player in itself. So I'd like to begin by telling a story. 1963, Henry Cooper was fighting Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was a young fighter. He'd never been knocked down before. And he was showboating, getting very comfortable. He recently won a gold medal, and he was pretty confident, and he started to get comfortable. And in the fourth round, he got knocked down, and that was the first time he had been knocked down. And he was laying on the mat, and the referee was giving the countdown, and right before they got to the 8 count, the bell went off, and he was saved by the bell. And he recovered during the break. And when he came back, he was fighting at another level. His ignition was lit. He was hot. And he ended up knocking out Cooper in the 5th round. The concept of this story is what does it take to ignite you? What does it take to get you focused, to play with intent, to not take pitches off, to play it at 10? If the scale's 1 to 10, how do you play it at 10? 10 focus, 10 energy, 10 confidence, 10 intent. Very difficult to do in baseball. And one of the reasons is because it's such a slow game. In major leagues, it's 162 and 180. We have the length of the season, and we have the stillness and the slowness of each game. In the average game, the ball's in flight for about 5% of the time. So the mind wanders. It gets distracted. So the concepts we're going to be talking about tonight are how do we keep a player tuned in pitch to pitch, 1 pitch at a time. In the average game, there's about 140 pitches. So the concept is I don't take pitches off 1 pitch at a time, the grinder. How do we accomplish that? It's easy to talk about, but how do we actually accomplish it? And Ali actually had a wake-up call, and he was fortunate to be saved by the bell, and we don't often get that opportunity in games. You know, games are typically won and lost on 1 pitch, the turning point. An error was made in the 2nd inning, and that's where maybe a big inning occurred. Oftentimes it's 1 pitch, 1 play, and oftentimes it's because someone lost focus. Willie McGee, a friend of mine, was teammates with Willie McGee, and every time before Willie would take the field to get ready before the game, he would look over at my buddy and he said, "Russ, how bad do you want it?" And that was his trigger to get his mind right. 1 game at a time. "Russ, how bad do you want it?" And he'd take the field. And his focus was being hungry. How bad do you want it? The 95-5 is a concept we talk about a lot. In the 95-5, it's pretty simple. It states that the game is 95% physical, 5% mental. There's 5 physical tools, and there's 1 mental makeup tool, which is the 6th tool. run, hit, field, throw, hit for power, the 5 physical tools. That's 95% of the game. The 5%, the 6th tool, the mental makeup, the character of a player, controls the 95. So really, it's a mental game. It's very difficult to out-talent players, especially the higher up you go in the game. So the great separator is the mental makeup, the 6th tool, the 5%. 95% physical, 5% mental. The 5% mental controls the 95% physical. The law of mutual exchange. We have the law of unintended consequences. We have the law of attraction. There's so many different laws. There's a law of gravity. Well, the law of mental prosperity is very simple. You become what you think about, and as you think, so shall ye be. If you think in positive terms, you receive positive results. If you think in negative terms, you receive negative results. So that's the positive and the negative. And it's very simple. You become what you think about. As you think, so shall you be. Talking about the power of thoughts. Think in positive terms, you receive positive results. Think in negative terms, you receive negative results. That's dualism. And we live in a world of dualism. It's a dualistic world. Positive, negative, win, lose, hot, cold, good, bad, love, hate, faith, fear. Faith is belief, fear is doubt. In the vastness of the mind and the void of faith, in the void of faith is an enemy known as fear. Fear is uncertainty, worry, doubt. In the vastness of the mind and the void of faith is an enemy known as fear. The two forces battle for the forefront of the mind. The question is which one is going to win? And they battle pitch to pitch, second to second, game to game, season to season. It's a constant. Faith and fear are constantly at a battle. Faith and fear. In the vastness of the mind, when we think of the mind is vast. And the mind is capable of 40 visual images and thoughts per second. And the average human has about 50,000 thoughts per day, up to 70,000. So when you think of the mind, it's the master at working, at multitasking, mental multitasking, at being distracted. It constantly is thinking, it's constantly working. How do we focus on faith versus fear? Faith is belief, certainty, confidence. The belief versus the doubt, pitch to pitch. Negative thoughts constantly entering in. When you think of the 50,000 thoughts per day, the majority at times are not positive thoughts or not productive thoughts. And oftentimes that's how we think. And they say typically, the scientists say typically that the majority of our thoughts are not positive. What we need to understand is we're always 1 second, one thought away from changing the game, either good or bad. One thought, 1 second. We have the ability to redirect, refocus our thoughts in seconds. And that's the power of trigger words, trigger phrases. Now, as we're talking about training the brain, tricking the brain. How do we actually train the brain to be focused and present and to dwell on faith versus fearful thoughts? The great Bruce Lee understood the idea of the conscious mind, the importance of the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. He understood both. He spoke about clearing your mind, clear your mind. He said, clear your mind and be like water. Water has no color, no flavor, no taste, no shape. If you put water in the cup, it becomes the cup. Clear your mind, be like water. He understood that the flow state is where it's the state where athletes are in when they're in the zone. Unconscious, spontaneous movement. Clear your mind, be like water. But he also understood the power of words. He said, be careful what you say because your body is listening. Even if you're joking, your body doesn't know the difference. Words have energy. They cast spells. So he understood the power of words, but he also understood the power of a clear mind, competing in the flow state. So there's a time and place for both. There's a time to think. There's a time to be clear, to be empty, to be void of thought. Masaru Emoto was a Nobel Prize winner who studied water, and he had a book that came out called The Hidden Messages of Water. And I encourage you to check it out. It's a very powerful book. And he talks about the unspoken and the spoken word and the effect it has on us. And he used water. What he did was he froze water crystals from different water sources from around the world. And he took these crystals, he froze them, and then he stuck them in vials. And in the vials, he took his microscope and he studied them. And what he saw was the crystals were beautiful. It looked like the hand of God drew them with precision, just beauty. And each water source he had, it was all pure water. He went to Mount Fuji, Mount Shasta. He went all over the world, and he took samples and he froze, formed the crystals, and then he examined them. They were flawless. They were beautiful. So what he did was, this is the study, he took the crystal, examined, saw the beauty in its natural state, and then he took words, negative words, fear, worry, doubt, I can't, you suck, devil, hate, negative words, and he taped them around the vial. And inside the vial was the crystals, and then he re-examined. And what he found was that the crystals changed their shape. They changed form. They became distorted and disrupted, and they were very ugly. The energy from the written word, the unspoken word, had a tremendous effect on the crystal. So then he did a very similar study, but instead of taping the words, and these are just words, okay, he did it also with positive words: love, peace, joy, I can. Any positive word, he put it around the vial. And what he noticed was the crystals maintained their shape of beauty. There was no negative effect. So then he did the study later, and he did it with the spoken word. So he spoke negative words, and he re-examined. And what he found was that a spoken word had the same effect, the same negative effect as the written word. And then he said good words: love, peace, joy, I can, I will, hope, positive words, and the crystals maintain their shape. What he was proving was what Bruce Lee said: words have energy. Words have energy. They cast spells, both good and bad. Powerful, very powerful stuff. So the unspoken word, the spoken word. Oftentimes we don't really think about our thoughts and the power that they have, but the thoughts that we have in our head are equally as powerful as what we actually say. So we have to examine our thoughts. So this leads us into the concept of triggers and trigger words and trigger phrases. What a trigger is, a trigger brings out, it activates. It's to bring out, to activate. And the goal is, as a baseball player, is to bring out the best version of you, to activate the best player that's in you, your best version. Triggers. So we've been doing a study over the last probably 2 years with triggers and trigger phrases and focal points. And it's been pretty incredible to see how it's made a difference in the game of our players, from the defensive side as well as the offensive side. A few years ago, I spoke at the ABCA on the main stage. There was quite a few coaches. So after I spoke, I was down in the lobby, and there was a good group of guys over the next couple hours that came down, and they came up to me and they said, thank you for your presentation, and we started talking, and I talked to numerous. My talk was on infield play, and I talked to numerous guys, and I asked the same question to all of them, and it was concerning the voice of doubt. We call it the VOD, the VOD, the VOC, the voice of doubt, the voice of confidence, the PST, positive self-talk, NST, negative self-talk. So obviously the VOD is NST, the VOD is negative self-talk, VOC, the VOC, the voice of confidence, is PST, positive self-talk. And the presentation was on the 6 tools, different components of the mental game. It was called DMG4, Defensive Mental Game 4. And I started to ask the question, and the majority of the gentlemen we're speaking to were advanced players. They were guys that were either professionals, big leaguers, AAA guys, guys that played in college. And the question was simple: did you experience the voice of doubt as an infielder? And to my surprise, all of them played with the voice of doubt on a pretty regular basis. And they found ways to navigate and to work through it. And we started to build on the concept of triggers. How do we use triggers to redirect, refocus our thinking? Triggers are powerful, and like Masaru Emoto, his study pointed out that words have energy, the spoken and the unspoken, both negative and positive words. They cast spells. The VOC, the VOD, the PST, the NST, blocking and replacing. So triggers block and replace. For the next couple of years, I started to ask the question to numerous coaches and players, former players, their experience as players. How often did they experience the voice of doubt? And we're talking elite players. We're not talking about guys that were backup high school players. We're talking about the better players, guys that had an opportunity to play, high-level college baseball, professional baseball. And the majority struggle with 2 areas. We have it broken down into 5 mental makeup components: the GDBRR, which is focus, energy, confidence, mental toughness, and preparation. And the 2 areas that we found that players, former players, struggled in was confidence, which is dealing with the voice of doubt, and responding to adversity. And when adversity hits, making errors, not hitting well, whatever, anything negative might be happening, it leads to the voice of doubt. And started to see that the voice of doubt is not something that just bad players, they experience. It's common. It's common amongst the elite players. It's common amongst average players. It's common amongst players that aren't very good. So we started asking questions on triggers. Did you have a trigger? Did you have a mechanism to find your way and navigate through the voice of doubt, through the negative thoughts? And we came up with a very common theme, and it was started with Nolan Arenado, but I want to backtrack just a little bit and talk a little bit about some other players, and even in different sports, who use triggers to get their minds right, to refocus, to replace the voice of doubt and replace with the voice of confidence. Call it replacing. It's very simple. You take the negative, replace the positive. VOD becomes the VOC. And we talked earlier about you're just 1 thought or 1 second away from success, literally, because the voice of doubt comes like the wind. It comes and you don't know when it's coming. It could be the 6th inning. The infield's all chewed up now, and there's an umpire in front of you and you can't really see the hitter, and it's starting to get cold and your arm's getting tight. And now it's the tying run at second base and you're not sure if you want the ball. The question is how do you navigate through that and be a playmaker? All these was pretty simple. His trigger, So we have trigger words, we have trigger phrases. The trigger phrase Ali used regularly was CBB, can't be beat. Michael Jordan's was making shots. He focused on making shots. Nolan Ryan's, you can do it, Nolan. You can do it. You can do it, Nolan, over and over. You can do it. You can do it, Nolan. Pedro Martinez, dominate, dominate, dominate. Rod Carew, I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm the best hitter, and you can't get me out. Pete Rose, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. The greatest of all time. Derek Jeter, let's go. Let's go, Jeet. Let's go. Colton Wong, Gold Glover, St. Louis Cardinals. Athletic and aggressive. Athletic and aggressive. Athletic and aggressive. Athletic and aggressive. Nolan Arenado, platinum, 8-time Gold Glove winner, platinum glove winner. I want the ball. I want the ball. I want the ball. So those are trigger phrases and trigger words combined, but those are elite players utilizing triggers and trigger phrases, trigger words, trigger phrases to get their minds right. GYMR, get your mind right. And it's powerful. It's powerful stuff. So how do we, incorporate triggers and trigger phrases with our players and with our teams? We have a couple different ways we accomplish this, and I'm going to share that with you here shortly. I'd like to go through a few more trigger words and a few more trigger phrases. I'm going to go through 10 trigger words. Now, it's kind of like a menu. You have a menu and you say, which one triggers the feeling that you want? Which one triggers the mind space that you want to play in? And we have to get our players to have a high sense of self-awareness where they actually self-identify where they're at when they're at their best. Am I happy? Am I neutral? Am I angry? What is my spirit? Do I feel like a hunter? Do I feel like a gatherer? Do I feel grateful? People are different, and each player needs to find what works for them, because every word is interpreted different by every human being. So it's not about necessarily the word, it's the interpretation of that individual, of that word. Trigger words, give you 10. Hunt, commit, attack, compete, dominate, expect, breathe, clear, wu-wei, suave. Trigger phrases, expect and commit, athletic and aggressive, decide, clear, breathe, attack, attack on every pitch, fear nothing, fear no one, I can and I will, I want the ball, hit me the ball, be like water. What we do with the phrases, we typically turn them into acronyms so they're easily remembered and they're easily communicated. Fear nothing, fear no one is FNFO. I can and I will is ICIW. Hit me the ball is HMTB. I want the ball is IWTB. Expect and commit is EAC. Be like water is BLH2O. So we put them into acronyms so they can write them, they can text them, they can put them on their hats. Very simple. They can also write them out too, but they're fun and easy ways to remember and to use as teaching tools. If you're going to use them as a teaching tool, or if a player is going to remember them, it helps. There was a player recently, he was at my camp, and he just recently retired. And he told the story of when he went to college, how as a freshman, it was a Division I program, and as a freshman, his brother's in the major leagues right now. He's an all-star, and his dad played in the big leagues, and he was a minor league infielder. And he said his first year in college, he was about to get cut. And the head coach came up to me and said, if you don't figure this out, we're going to cut you. And he was the last infielder on the roster. And he couldn't figure it out because he's saying, my dad hits me ground balls and I'm good. And then when I get out on the field with my team as a freshman, Division I environment, I struggle. I get tense. My mind gets away from me. And he's going through this process of adversity and struggling. And he's like, what am I going to do? I'm going to lose my spot here on this, in this program. And he started to use a trigger word. And his trigger was, hit me the ball, HMTB, much like Nolan Arenado's. And by the way, Nolan's arguably one of the greatest fielders in the history of the game. Off the charts. Nolan says, I want the ball. And Nolan doesn't just say it one time. He says it every pitch. He says it throughout the game. He says it after he makes an error. I want the ball. I want the ball. Words have energy. They cast spells, good and bad. You become what you think about. It's frequency. And Nolan Arenado is a high frequency player. We'll get back to Nolan here shortly. I want to finish the story of the young college player. So he's about to lose his spot. And he starts working his trigger, which is hit me the ball. But he added a piece to the end. It was HMTV DER. It was hit me the ball and don't even run. We talked earlier about faith and fear. They battle for the forefront of your mind, pitch to pitch, the whole game. A player can be in faith and belief and confidence for the first 3 innings, makes an error in the third, comes back in the fourth, he's lost his confidence. The voice of doubt creeps in. We said earlier, the wind. The wind is coming. The wind is filled with the voice of doubt. You don't know when it comes. Hit me the ball, don't even run became his trigger phrase. HMTB DER. Hit me the ball, don't even run. He went from being the worst fielder in the program to being the best. There's 2 things he did. He focused on his trigger and he visualized his father hitting him fungos. Anytime a batter was batting, it was his dad just hitting him a fungo. And he started to relax. And the words in his mind, unspoken words, not the spoken, he didn't speak out loud, they were just thoughts. And his unspoken words literally changed his game. Completely changed his game. And he ended up becoming the best infielder on the team and ended up signing a professional contract. Playing professional baseball as an infielder. And he was simply one thought away from greatness. One thought. The voice of doubt comes. The question is what do you do with it? Do you hold on to it? Thoughts are nothing but thoughts, which we do not need to attach to them. They're just thoughts. And if you think of a thought as like a cloud just blowing by, when you have a negative thought, the voice of doubt comes in. Just let it go by. And you replace it, you block it with a positive thought, which is your trigger. And you can have multiple triggers. You don't just have to have one. We use triggers for many different situations. And right now we're particularly talking about defense. The triggers, from the offensive side, it's pitchers and, Nolan Ryan. You can do it. The whole game, you can do it, Nolan. You can do it. Focusing on you can do it. Pedro, dominate, 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 dominate. Keeping his mind centered and focused and clear so he can be athletic and in the zone. When tension enters the body and is not released, players need to understand that their athleticism is completely lost. They lose their athleticism once tension enters the body, and tension is a product of your mind, how you think. So if there's any uncertainty in your mind, that's fear. We must redirect, replace with our trigger, which is faith, something powerful, something positive. And what happens is vision and judgment is enhanced. Muscle memory, mental memory is remembered, and athleticism is at its peak when the body is relaxed. But the body will only relax when the mind is right. Think of the mind as a very simple concept here. You have a car, you have the body. Creating a parallel. The car cannot move without an engine, but the engine can't move without fuel. The body of the human is much like a car. Without an engine, the body is waiting to be moved. The engine of the car is like the mind in the body. So we have our mind, which is our engine. The fuel fuels the engine to move the car. Well, for our bodies to move, we're relying on our mind, but our mind is relying on our thoughts. Our thoughts are the fuel. Our thoughts is the fuel. It fuels our mind, and our mind moves our body. It's pretty simple. And the body is just waiting. It's the law of attraction. The body seeks to accomplish what the mind thinks in pictures. So if my mind is unsure of anything, my body's unsure. But if my mind is right, all the forces in my body work together to accomplish the goal. If the goal is to make plays, I'm on defense right now. The goal is to make plays, and I'm focused on making plays, or I want the ball, or I can't be beat. Whatever my trigger is, the body seeks to accomplish. It works for you, but it's just waiting to be directed by your thoughts. And this is why our thoughts are so important. And then you have the game where it's the slowest game. We talked earlier, 5% of the game, the ball's moving. So you have 95% of the time, nothing's going on. So you're just doing nothing. And your mind is vast, capable of 40 visual images and thoughts per second, 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day. So the question is WYTRN, what are you thinking right now? WYTRN, what are you thinking right now? GYMR, get your mind right. Get your mind right. What you thinking right now? That's pitch to pitch, because faith and fear are constantly battling for the forefront of your mind. The question pitch to pitch is which one's going to win. And that's why elite players are elite self-talkers. They talk to themselves over and over and over. Jeter, Scott Brocious talked about it. He said, Jeter talked to himself the whole time. You go walk over to him, what's up, Jeet? He's talking to him, Jeet, you can do it, let's go. Tom House talks about going out to the mound, Nolan the whole time saying, you can do it, Nolan, come on, you can do it. You can do it, Nolan. A good friend of mine spent time with Rod Carew. Rod Carew, every single pitch before he stepped in the box said, I'm the best hitter and you can't get me out. That's what he would say, ITV, I'm the best. I'm the best. He got up over 10,000 times. He's a Hall of Fame hitter. Think of how many times he said that. If he gets 3 pitches per bat, that's over 30,000 times he said that as a major league hitter. I'm the best hitter, facing Bob Gibson, Nolan Ryan, Sandy, whoever he's facing, the best of the best, Tom Seaver. He steps out of the box. Before he steps in, I'm the best hitter, and you can't get me out. And the body seeks to accomplish what the mind thinks in pictures. So if I'm picturing and thinking, you can't get me out, and I'm the best, all the forces in my body work together. But if my mind is unsure, any doubt, any worry, any fear, my mind's unsure, the body's unsure. It creates hesitation. It creates tension. And the athlete is lost. The athleticism is lost. Reaction time is delayed. The muscle mental memory is forgotten. The vision and judgment is impaired. This is why trigger words, trigger phrases are so powerful. We're going to equate it. What we use is we have these magnets here. If I can find this magnet, okay. The magnet is a great way to teach the frequency and how energy actually works. We're talking about how words have energy. And when I find this magnet, oh, there it is. Okay, so we have this magnet here, and This is what we use to teach the power of the unspoken and spoken word, the unconscious and conscious. So you have a magnet, and we hand a magnet at the dollar store. They're very cheap. And I have about 50 of them, and we hand them out to all the players. Because energy you can't see, but it's real. Because look, that's energy. If I flip it around, you're going to feel it doesn't connect. It's pushing back. There's an energy field. Bruce Lee said it. Words have energy. They cast spells, both good and bad. The question is, what are you thinking right now? Masi Muramoto studied the hidden messages of water. So we have this magnet. We tell the players, belief, faith. The result, if I'm on defense, I want to make plays. If I'm on the mound, I want to make pitches. If I'm in the batter's box, if I want to hit rockets. If I believe, what happens? It's the law of attraction. Results are drawn to you because you are high frequency. When you're operating at a high frequency, there's high, mid, and low. As your thoughts begin to doubt, hope, think, I hope, I think, that's a mid and low frequency player. Your energy field is actually low around you. And anytime a team is winning consistently and or a player is dominating, they're operating at a high frequency. That means they are in the zone. And when you're in the zone, you are full of confidence. You believe, there's no doubt, there's no uncertainty, there's no worry. You're just in the zone, committed to the do. Belief, confidence, faith, results, boom, making plays, making pitches, hitting rockets, swiping bags. You flip one around, it won't connect. Doubt, worry, fear, hope, think. This is the result you want. You're wondering why your fielding percentage is 960 when it should be 990. You're wondering why you're batting 260 when you could be batting 360. It's because your mind isn't right. And the magnets are awesome because you can actually, I mean, literally I'm pushing it as hard as I can and it won't connect. Results are deflected when there's doubt, worry, fear in the mind of the player, making them a low frequency, mid frequency player. Low means I know I can't, and I can't get a hit. You're at the rock bottom. The light is red. You're low frequency. Mid is yellow, and you still can find some results. The more talented you are, the more you're going to actually find a result, but you're not going to be an elite player. You're not going to reach your ceiling. We talked in the beginning, the very beginning, about helping players reach the height of their ceiling. And when you're in the frequency, the high frequency, being totally released from self-doubt, totally committed to the do, totally released, and you're in the zone, in the flow state, unconscious, spontaneous movement flow state, what happens is you operate at a high frequency and results are drawn to you and you start to dominate the game. And this is why when you watch the game, you see that not necessarily the most talented are the best thinkers. When you think of Alex Rodriguez, one of the greatest athletes ever to sign a professional contract and play in the major leagues, Nolan Arenado had the opportunity to coach. Nolan is not a 5 athlete. If we have a scale 1 to 5, A-Rod's a 5. Nolan, I would drop him in the 4, 3.5, maybe 4 category. But why is Nolan Arenado a better defender? Go to YouTube, watch the video. A-Rod's talking to Arenado and he's saying, dude, how are you so good? You make every play easy. He goes, I struggled on the one to my left. I struggled on the one I had to go back on. He goes, they're all easy for you. And A-Rod's like, I don't know how old he is. He's maybe 50. He's out taking ground balls and he's smoother than Arenado right now. I coached Nolan in high school. He had heavy feet. He was a little overweight. He was stiff and he had an average arm. And his fundamentals were average. A-Rod, superior athlete. Nolan, a better player. He's a better defender. And he says, no, what do you think about it? He says, I want the ball. Nolan is totally released from doubt. It's not even in his dictionary. It doesn't even exist in his mind. And when it does come in, it's non-negotiable. It's like, go away. I don't dwell in doubt. I dwell in faith. I want the ball. And he said, even after I make an error, I focus on, I want the ball. I love to make outs and I want the ball. This is why Nolan Arenado, Nolan Ryan too, okay? Nolan Arenado is arguably the greatest third baseman to ever live, and he's one of the greatest players of all time. He still has some more years to prove that. But look at his offensive numbers and look at his defensive numbers. He is not the most athletic, but his mind is right. He operates on a high frequency level and he draws results. His mind is right. And we have these, I'm going to give you some examples of what we've been using with our players to help them get their minds right. So we have these on our site, Trosky Ranch. These are little focal point stickers that go on the glove or the bat of the hitter. They say breathe. And these ones here say GYMR, get your mind right. They're little stickers about the size of your pinky. Players absolutely love them. You put them on their bat, put them somewhere on their glove. So now they have a focal point on defense. They have a focal point on offense. Then they attach their trigger word with their focal point. So when they look at the focal point, they clear their mind, they blank the canvas so that now they can enter into their mind what they want. Because the body seeks to accomplish what the mind thinks in pictures. The canvas of my mind, I want to blank it. So I look at the focal point and I breathe slow and I clear my mind like water. I empty. I breathe slow. In the nose, out of the mouth. We usually go one breath, 10 seconds, 5 seconds, inhale, 5 seconds, exhale. It's one breath, and then they clear. The canvas is blank, and then they enter on the canvas their thoughts. That's what the picture is. Thoughts are nothing but word pictures. And your thought is your trigger or your trigger phrase. You can use trigger words or trigger phrases. Rod Carews was, I'm the best hitter and you can't get me out. Nolan Arenado's on defense is, I want the ball. Nolan Ryan on the mound is, you can do it. You can do it, Nolan. You can do it. So the triggers, we utilize them in different times. Hitters use them typically before they step in the box, but you can use it at any time. And the defenders were using them when they pick their glove up. They have a trigger. So I'm going to give you an example. If I'm playing right now, when I pick my glove up to take the field, I say, get your mind right. That's my trigger. So right when I pick it up, I can see the sticker because it's on the back of the glove. It's right here. I see it. It's a little focal point. I look at it and I pick my glove up and I say my trigger phrase, get your mind right. Then as I cross the line to take the field, I say I don't take pitches off. So I have two phrases within about 4 seconds. Pick up my glove, cross the line. Get the ground balls between the inning. Right before the first pitch is delivered of every inning, I look to the focal point, I breathe and relax, slow down, clear my mind, and say my trigger. My trigger is expect and commit. Expect and commit, expect and commit. And I focus on that throughout the inning. During the space between each pitch, communicating internally, externally the situation, and then blank. Focus on the trigger, expect and commit, expect and commit, expect and commit. Now, that's a way to utilize it. We teach it to our players. They love it. It gives them a place to go and it helps them get their minds right one pitch at a time, be present, focused, locked in one pitch at a time. Well, they don't have to do it just like me or the guy next to them. They can do it any way they want, but you give them the tools, you give them the concepts, you help them think, you help them think creatively. So the triggers are awesome. Now we have these cards, 6 tool, DCBA, GYMR, get your mind right. These go right in your hat. So what you do is you take it off, you put it right in the front. So now when they put their hat on, they have their trigger in their hat. DCBA is decide, clear, breathe, attack. We have many different cards with trigger phrases, trigger words, but it's pretty cool. They put their hat on, now they're focused on the trigger. So there's many different ways to utilize, and then we have this breathing card with a focal point right in the middle, so they get really good at aiming small, focusing small, and relaxing. This is something we have them put by their beds at night. It's about a 2-minute breathing exercise. So they do number breathing, and they do focal point breathing. We also have these wristbands here to remind them. So what we're doing here is we're building a culture of words of our own language, and they love it. Absolutely. I've been coaching for 30 years. I've never seen anything like it. Kids absolutely love the acronyms. The first one on the top is GYMR. The second one is GDBRR. That's Grinder, Dirtbag, Bulldog, Rock, and Rad. GYMR 95.5 is Get Your Mind Right. And we have the Hunter, Big Game Hunter, BGH, CBB, Big Game Hunter, Can't Be Beat. Then we have DCBA, DCBA here is decide, clear, breathe, attack, and we have messages on the inside of all of them as well. And we also created these stickers here that go on your bat, your glove, your computer. You can put it anywhere. These ones here are DCBA, and this one here is GYMR. And we put these actually on the fingers on the back of the glove, GYMR or DCBA. Guys put it on their bat, and or they can just put it on their computer, on their phone. Building a culture, transforming the way they think, building a lifestyle of getting your mind right, being in control of your thoughts, being the master of redirecting, refocusing, blocking negative thoughts, replacing with the VOC, voice of confidence, the voice of faith. These frisbees here, they're focal point frisbees. We use these for on deck. They stand over them, they breathe. We also use them for receiving. We use them for catchers. We use them for hand-eye coordination for hitters and defenders. This one is focused for the hitter. It talks about, it says, I know what pitch is coming. It says, get your mind right. It says, pitch, lane, location. It says, big game hunter, hunting gators. This one is be like water. It says, suave. This one's a little more for the defender, but it also can work for the hitter. It says, move slow, feel loose, feel light, breathe. This here says, wu wei. It says, suave, be like water. So we actually practice on a regular basis utilizing the focal point with our frisbee exercises, utilizing these for defensive game and for the offensive game. And then we have our cards here where players practice breathing. And then we have the focal point for their gloves, put it anywhere, computers anywhere, in their mirrors at home, and also on their bats. In closing, I'd like to just briefly talk about how the mind is a muscle and it takes years to train the brain. But we have to start somewhere and we need to build. And if we start at a young age, the mental toughness, the mental maturity will come. And instead of starting at 18 and hoping a player is going to find it, the earlier we start, the better, the greater the advantage. Give it time, train the brain. The mind is a muscle too. And the concept is go to the mind gym every day. It's not like once a week, it's every day. One thing that we do before we leave the dugout, we do at least a one breath, which is 10 seconds. They slow down, they grab a focal point. It could be a pebble on the ground, they're sitting down. Then we say, my mind is clear, my heartbeat is slow, my body's relaxed. And we get them to feel in control and to feel relaxed. My mind is clear, my mind is clear and calm. My heartbeat is slow, my body's relaxed. Then they give a one breath. They do the one breath for 10 seconds. They say their trigger. I'm not a huge fan of breathing and getting tired. I'm a fan of breathing and getting focused and having intent. So the trigger that follows the breath is, to me, is powerful, because now if I say dominate, clear, I breathe, I relax. Now I'm focused on dominating. Now I'm hungry. It's time to eat. Knowledge. So we're giving knowledge. Understanding the knowledge is extremely important. And if you give knowledge and information to your players and they don't understand it, they won't apply it. Application must follow. So it turns into a transformation. It turns into wisdom. Knowledge without application is nothing. Knowledge with application is wisdom, which is transformation. It transforms our players. But it really comes down to is, do they understand what we're teaching them? And if they don't, it means nothing to them and everything to you. It doesn't matter because they don't understand it. So we must be masters of the why to do. The what to do is what we just spoke about. The what, the triggers, trigger phrases, focal points. That's the what. The how, we also gave the how. How do we utilize them? And then we have the why. The why equals the want. The want to do. If our players are going to want to do what we're teaching, they must understand the why to do. And the why to do will transform them into applying it with application. So now that they're transformed players. What to do, how to do, why to do, want to do. The final is the want. We want our players to want to do everything we're teaching. but oftentimes they don't want to, and they don't, because the why and the understanding is missing. Make it a priority to be a master teacher. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. All the best. Better every day.